It has been an interesting 18 months here at BAT. That's an understatement. In December of 2019, BAT was told to vacate its home of 40 years. BAT's fan base stepped up, and after multiple 4-3 votes at the Burien City Council, BAT was given a brief reprieve until July of 2020. With that sword hanging over BAT's head, we had a great on-stage season. Audience and revenues continued their upward growth. That is, until COVID-19 struck. In the pandemic, the Burien City Council voted to spend $620,000 to tear down BAT's home in a 4-3 vote, even though they had no plans about what to do with the property once BAT's was gone. The council members opposing destroying BAT's home were Pedro Olegon, Nancy Tosca, and Kevin Schilling. Even as BAT fought on to keep its home, the pandemic hit BAT's on-stage shows. During BAT's The Rocky Horror production, the governor limited seatings to live theaters to 50%. Out of our safety concerns for the cast, crew, and audience, we decided to close Rocky early. We closed mid-run after the Sunday matinee. That Monday, the governor closed down all live theaters, so Rocky was BAT's last show in its old home. Seeing that we could not be on stage and expecting the pandemic to go on for a while, in May of 2020, BAT turned to the internet. We had heard about a thing called Zoom. We were told it was better than most anything else out there for online meetings, so we decided to perform shows on Zoom. At that time, royalty companies had not yet figured out how to structure royalties for online performances. As a result, they were slow to respond to our request for rights, so we looked for plays where we had a relationship with the author or the author's agent. We quickly picked 4 shows that met those requirements, plus 1 in the public domain. We guessed these 5 plays would work on the new medium. We announced our first shelter-in-place season, and then we purchased a Zoom subscription and headed to Zoom for rehearsals. As the director and cast learned how to rehearse on Zoom, we worked to figure out how to use Zoom for a performance. BAT was a very early adopter using Zoom for live theater. Unfortunately, despite searching for help, there was very little information to be found. This was indeed a case of jumping out of an airplane and building your parachute on the way down. This abrupt pivot stretched BAT's COVID-19 staff to its breaking point. But despite the pandemic, theater needs to go on. More than ever, people needed stories, especially the kind of stories BAT was famous for telling. BAT decided to stay live on Zoom as much of theater and to keep as much of the theater energy as possible. We also thought that if we recorded the shows for later streaming, we should do a lot of post-production, which would make it more like TV and less like theater. BAT also decided to forego its Friday evening performances. We thought after a week of online meetings, no one would want to watch a play online. Like us, we thought the audience would like some time to transition from work to entertainment. We also saw that people were being hit hard by COVID. People were losing hours and in far too many cases, their jobs. So we decided to go with a pay what you will model. We also decided that we would not turn anybody away who could not find $1 to get a link. Thankfully, many people were able and did pay more than $1. Setting up Pay What You Will for BAT required the help of BAT's online ticket vendor, Click4Tix. Once again, Troy stepped up and set that up for us. As an aside, when the pandemic hit, Click4Tix, unlike some ticket vendors, timely paid BAT. Click4Tix even handled all of the refunds when we had to cancel part of the Rocky Horror Show. Click4Tix is a gem. For our first Zoom performances, we decided to produce just one weekend of performances. Back then, we didn't know if anybody would even show up. We were delighted to find we had a good size and receptive audience. BAT's first shelter-in-place season of 5 plays was so successful that we started to plan Shelter Season 2. But first, we had to move out of our home. The city of Burien required BAT to be out by the end of July. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic, BAT could not bring in volunteers to help us get ready to move. And we had no place to store all the physical pieces that make theater. We were frantically looking for storage. With just days before the city's deadline and BAT being forced to shut down due to lack of storage, the Highline School District lent a hand. BAT looks forward to restarting its scholarship program as a way to say thanks. The Highline School District's kindness saved BAT. Because we did not have storage until the Wednesday before the Friday we had to move, we asked Burien Parks if we could have until Tuesday to move. That would let us use a local mover and get a nonprofit discount. Burien Parks denied our request and said they would throw away anything not moved out by the end of Friday. BAT rushed to find a mover and paid a $3,000 premium, used a mover not located in Burien, and got out just in the nick of time. Once the hectic move was over, it was on to Shelter Season 2 and another 5 plays. By now, the royalties companies were starting to figure out online shows. However, the royalties companies saw a new income stream. This led to a bit of a brouhaha. BAT sought the rights from Dramatist Play Service to produce Bauer by Lauren Gunderson. Dramatist said they required us to use their streaming service, including their ticket seller. Well, part of BAT's doing at Shelter Season was to help Click for Tix survive. With so many venues closed, Click for Tix was struggling too. We exchanged many emails with Dramatist Play Service. We reached out to other theaters to see what they were doing, and they recommended we go ahead and do what Dramatist Play Service wanted. So, BAT decided not to do Bauer. As part of Bauer's storyline was when an artist loses control, the art dies. We contacted Lauren Gunderson's agent and laid out our plight. We explained that we wanted to produce Bauer, but we could not in good conscience. We do not know what went on behind the scenes, but Dramatist Play Service relented, and now their national contracts strongly urge theaters to use their captive streaming service, but they do not require it. We also developed a great relationship with Lauren Gunderson's agent. That connection led us to take a deep dive into Lauren Gunderson's work in BAT Shelter in Place Season 3. In Shelter in Place Season 2, we went to 4 performances per play, 2 Saturdays and 2 Sundays. At the end of the Shelter Season 2, our audience grew. We were much more proficient at Zoom. Zoom was not made for theater, but we were figuring it out. We then did Shelter Season 3, 5 more online plays. We opened with a Christopher Durang play and then did 3 Lauren Gunderson plays. We also did a special performance of a local playwright's work. It was an interesting dive into Lauren Gunderson's canon. We also added OBS, Open Broadcaster Software, to our toolkit, and with that addition, we could do even more tech in our Zoom shows. BAT Shelter in Place seasons were never just play readings. From the beginning, BAT rehearsed the plays, including tech rehearsals. The shows had props, costumes, sound effects. BAT looked at Zoom as a stage substitute and gave each play the same attention that a main stage show would receive. A show on Zoom is not live theater in a playhouse. It is not a radio play. It is not a reading. It is a unique animal. As Marshall McLuhan said, the medium is the message. In simple terms, the content and the medium are intertwined. The central message or the effect something has is not just in the content, but in the way it is presented. When presenting a play on Zoom, it is significantly different than sitting together in an auditorium watching people on stage. We told stories of our humanity in a new way, a unique and entertaining manner. Judging from the audience numbers and the comments, we did a good job. All the while, BAT was part of Seattle Theater Leaders. Through that organization and on its own, BAT is addressing the sexual and racial inequities in American theater. Pre-pandemic, BAT was not blind to the issues of representation of non-male and non-whites in theater. We had been working on all levels to expand our universe. Seattle Theater Leaders sharpened and gave voice to the changes needed in theater to make it accessible and worthwhile for everyone. There is much work to do, but BAT is actively having the needed conversations and making needed changes. Like every live theater in the country, BAT's budget was crushed by COVID-19. Due to BAT's size, no employee, and the city of Burien tearing down BAT's home, BAT did not qualify for any city, state, or federal financial aid or loans. BAT was left on its own. BAT's 3 shelter-in-place seasons provided much-needed income to stay afloat, and we want to thank all who attended and who gave. It looks like BAT may survive COVID-19, but it is only because of your help. All of us at BAT cannot thank you enough for your support and for staying with us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. As we look at coming out of COVID, first this summer, we head to the South King County parks with hay fever, and then inside. First of all, we have to find at least temporary housing and an amazing permanent space. We turn to you for help. Please keep BAT going. If you can, please make a donation. The link is in the comment section.